Next on Currents News, a Brooklyn Jesuit school is fighting changing times. They're on the move. I'll tell you why. I'm Emily Druby. That's ahead.
Also on Currents News tonight, a pastor takes us inside that landmark church in Puerto Rico destroyed by the earthquake. And we'll hear his hopes for what's ahead. An art exhibit from the slums of Bolivia is now on display in New York City. It's the work of children. Plus, the support for life is gaining steam around the country. A record number of marches is set to step off this month. A busy night of news starts right now. Good evening, I'm Lydia Serrani. Tonight we begin with a great Catholic institution fighting changing times. Brooklyn Jesuit Prep's mission is to make a difference for students who might not otherwise get a chance, and now they're on the move. Currents News' Emily Druby reports on the reason why.
Spend a few minutes to read through the comments.
Brooklyn Jesuit Prep, it's become an institution in Crown Heights. But now they're moving, adapting to changes happening around them, a harsh reality that has become the norm in New York City. Gentrification and the rising prices of the New York City housing market.
Over 50% of renters are either rent burdened, paying 30% or more of income, or severely rent burdened, paying 50% or more of their gross income towards rent.
For years, this Brooklyn neighborhood of Crown Heights has been changing. In fact, the NYU Furman Center, which tracks that kind of data, has called it a gentrifying neighborhood. And that's a big problem for Brooklyn Jesuit Prep.
Moving to East Flatbush presents opportunities for us in terms of the neighborhood being able to serve a population that we want to be able to serve.
As President Father Mario Powell explains, the Jesuit Middle School is responding to the change by moving to space at St. Vincent Ferrer Church in East Flatbush. Principal Gregory Artie explains it's closer to where many of their students live.
Our kids are coming from further and further. Some of our kids make very long trips to get here.
You're looking for an equation.
They're part of a nationwide network of Jesuit schools that caters to students from low-income families.
The families that we want to serve, which are families that earn below $24,000 a year, they increasingly can't afford to live in this immediate vicinity.
Providing kids with a quality education. While the city's high school graduation rate is only 76%, 97% of their kids have graduated high school, an education they love.
I like how much they support us, especially the teachers.
The move also gives them an opportunity to design the space themselves to really make it their own for the first time.
Not only just have a clean look to it, a uniform look, but a true Brooklyn Jesuit Prep look to each individual classroom.
They'll make the big move at the end of the school year. In Crown Heights, Emily Druby, Currents News.
Tonight, many in the Brooklyn Diocese have their hearts and minds elsewhere with their families in Puerto Rico. More than half of the island is still without power, and many people do not have running water. Days after the strongest quake in more than 100 years hit the island, thousands are still sleeping outside or in their cars, fearful of being indoors during another quake. Authorities are saying that it would take more than a year to fix one of the damaged power plants. Puerto Rico remains in a state of emergency, and the National Guard is helping with recovery efforts. Still, the south of the island has dozens of homes and buildings that are in ruins. And one of those buildings is the beloved church Currents News has been updating you about. Tonight, a hopeful pastor brings Maricela Burgos inside what remains of Immaculate Conception in Guayanilla.
A serene Thursday afternoon by the coast doesn't show the pain people are feeling inland.
My heart dropped to my feet because I never imagined something like this would happen.
A 6.4 earthquake knocked down large pieces of Inmaculada Concepción in Guayanilla.
Esto es el altar.
Father Melvin Díaz Aponte walks through the ruins, everything the quake destroyed on Tuesday. From below, you can see into a classroom. the wall crumbling to the ground.
For me, what hurts more is knowing people are in pain because of what this church means to them.
On Thursday, church members spent the day recovering religious items used during services. Julia Irizarry attends once a week and needed to see the destruction for herself.
It was surprising to look at the extent of the damage. It hurt all of us.
Knowing they don't know if they'll be able to gather here again.
The goal is to rebuild in the same location. Since 1841, this has been the space where Catholics have celebrated their faith, and we hope it will continue here.
For now, they'll grab whatever they can save.
We're going to remove all of the benches.
Because it's their faith, no matter where they have to pray, that will get them through this.
It's something that makes us have more hope because God is the only one that knows why this happened.
Maricela Burgos also reports parishioners hope to move back into the church, but for now they're going to hold services on the street on Sunday, and moving forward they plan to block off the road until they can move into a temporary space. And on the high seas, a near collision between American and Russian warships is sparking a sharp warning from the U.S. Navy tonight. That's the horn of the USS Farragut, alerting of a possible collision. The Russian ship aggressively approached within 16 yards of the U.S. destroyer before turning away. The confrontation happens in the North Arabian Sea on Thursday. The Navy is condemning the action as dangerous and provocative. At the same time, the White House is slapping Iran with new sanctions as that confrontation takes another turn. Tensions are high as new details come out over Iran's role in that deadly plane crash near Tehran's airport. Camila Bernal has the latest from Washington.
In the back and forth between the U.S. and Iran, the U.S. is striking back, this time with economic sanctions.
We will continue to apply economic sanctions until Iran stops its terrorist activities and commit that it will never have nuclear weapons.
The sanctions come as a result of the Iranian attack on U.S. and allied troops in Iraq in retaliation for a U.S. strike that killed Qasem Soleimani. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo continues to defend the rationale behind the attack that killed the Iranian general.
We had specific information on an imminent threat, and those threat stream included attacks on U.S. embassies. Period. Full stop.
But some members of Congress are still questioning whether the attack was truly imminent. Meanwhile, Iranians say sanctions will not bring them to the table.
Either you want to have a dialogue or either you want to apply sanctions.
And to add to the escalating tensions, new details on the plane crash in Iran that killed 176 people aboard a Ukrainian plane.
We do believe that it's likely that that plane was shot down by an Iranian missile. When we get the results of that investigation, I am confident we and the world will take appropriate actions in response.
Iran denies the claim and says they're inviting international partners, including the U.S., to investigate. Camila Bernal, Currents News.
Updating the Democrats' push to handcuff President Trump from waging war with Iran. The House passed a resolution, mostly along party lines last night, limiting the commander-in-chief from using the military without congressional approval. It now moves on to the Senate. And today, Speaker Nancy Pelosi is alerting the House to be ready to send the impeachment articles to the Senate next week. That move would end the current stalemate and allow the Republican-controlled Senate to hold a trial. The president is facing allegations that he abused his office and obstructed Congress. Tonight, it's being labeled a mega fire in Australia. Two of the largest blazes that are ravaging the country have merged into one. The mega fire is burning through about 1.5 million acres. That's the size of Delaware. And there's little hope the flames will be brought under control anytime soon. And right now, 147 fires are raging. Australia's Archbishop Anthony Fisher is dedicating Mass this Sunday to prayers for rain and an end to the disaster. He's inviting Catholics to join him at St. Mary's Cathedral in Sydney. Earlier this week, Pope Francis offered his prayers for Australia. As the Australian tragedy rages on, the country is getting a helping hand. Assistance, financial and otherwise, is coming from thousands of miles away. A hearty round of applause greets U.S. firefighters as they arrive in Sydney. Their exhausted Australian counterparts have been battling blazes for months. Others are also pitching in. Students at North Carolina's Oak Grove High are making T-shirts and stickers with their mascot, a grizzly bear hugging a koala bear. Some of the money raised by sales is going to Australia's World Wildlife Fund.
If we take the time to do something, we could make a small impact, and I feel like that's what we're doing right now.
Becky Coulson of Illinois is sewing so-called Joey pouches to help baby kangaroos.
If the baby starts off this big and the mother has just been, tragically injured, they're going to need a size of these for every stage for the next 11 to possibly 13 months.
And celebrities are likewise lending assistance. Elton John is donating $1 million to Australia's bushfire relief fund. That's the same amount actor Chris Hemsworth has pledged to give.
That money goes directly to the firefighters, the people on the front lines, the people who have suffered, the communities that have taken a hit.
Australia's fires have been burning for months, scorching approximately 18 million acres across 6 states. At least 27 fire-related deaths have been confirmed and an estimated 1 billion animals killed. Over to Paris now, a new argument tonight about the rebuilding of Notre Dame Cathedral. Some French experts are claiming the roof of the landmark needs to be made of wood, otherwise the church could collapse. French President Emmanuel Macron has argued for the spire atop of the structure to have a so-called contemporary touch. The man in charge of the reconstruction is going to study the competing views. There's a lot more news headed your way. We'll get to how to get involved as support for the unborn is growing. More and more people are on the March for Life. And some kids from Bolivia live a hard life, but they're able to express themselves in beautiful ways. And it's worthy of a New York City exhibition. See their artwork tonight only on Currents News. And migrants are in the spotlight as America's bishops highlight their plight. Bishop DiMarzio is just moments away. We are officially 2 weeks away from the March for Life, where hundreds of thousands of pro-life advocates will take to the streets of Washington, D.C. Ahead of the major march, similar displays will be happening in other dioceses around the country, starting this Saturday when the faithful in Chicago will fight to defend life. Among some of the key speakers, the head of the Archdiocese there, Cardinal Blaise Cupich. At the same time, people in Denver will meet on the steps of the state's capitol. They will be pushing for a proposed 2020 ballot measure that will ban late-term abortions. 1 week after that, Los Angeles' 6th annual March for Life will take place. Some 30,000 people attended last year's walk. You too can take part in the March for Life. The Diocese of Brooklyn is chartering a bus that will take pro-lifers from the diocesan offices in Prospect Park, Brooklyn to Washington, D.C. It will leave at 6:30 a.m. and cost $25 per person. And get a pen and write this down. To reserve your seat, please call 718-281-9540. Again, that's 718-281-9540, or email mhernandez@diobrook.org. That information is also in the tablet newspaper, and you can pick it up at your nearest church. Nebraskan Governor Pete Ricketts has declared the anniversary of Roe v. Wade as a statewide day of prayer. Ricketts is encouraging all people to pray on January 22nd for an end to abortion and a deepening in respect for the humanity of unborn children. The proclamation comes as pro-life lawmakers propose a bill that would ban some abortions. Pablo Picasso famously said, "Every child is an artist," and that's definitely true for a group of children from Bolivia whose artwork has traveled thousands of miles to inspire viewers right here in New York City. Currents News' Jessica Easthope has more from the Sheen Center in Manhattan.
I like that one. The gallery at the Sheen Center filled up quickly with people who stood awestruck that the art they were looking at was created by kids. Some pieces depicted stunning landscapes, others colorful animals. Some were even pictures of how these kids see themselves. But the paintings weren't made in an elementary school art class, but in a small building with the mountains of La Paz, Bolivia in the background.
Every time we gather together, we're making art together, we're building community, we're talking about what's going on, we're growing.
Robert Aitchison is the curator of the exhibit and an artist himself. In 2015, Aitchison started Arte Fogata, a workshop for children living in La Paz and a surrounding town designed to help them reach their untapped creative potential.
Seeing how creativity can enhance the self-esteem of a child. I've seen that over and over with these kids. It's amazing. Kids who come alive when they have a room full of art supplies and the opportunity to explore their imagination.
Curators say you'd never guess by looking at the bright colors and cheerful images of the artwork just how hard the lives of these children really are.
They've been through a lot of challenging situations, a lot of issues of homelessness, neglect, abandonment, abuse.
But their art reflects the wonder of their imaginations.
It's not just a nice activity, but it really gives them a sense of hope and purpose and meaning.
The exhibit will be at the gallery at the Sheen Center until February 1st. Each of the pieces are on sale for $225. The proceeds will go toward funding this summer's Arte Fogata program. In Manhattan, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
Bishops from around the country have been highlighting the plight of refugees as they celebrate National Migration Week. The Bishop of Brooklyn, Nicholas DiMarzio, is an international expert on the subject, and he joins Ed Wilkinson to discuss the current state of immigrants in this week's Into the Deep. Ed?
Thank you. Bishop DiMarzio is with us today. We want to talk about National Migration Week, which is a celebration sponsored every year by the United States bishops. Bishop Ray, the theme this year is promoting a church and a world for all. What does that mean?
Well, again, the church is universal in its outlook, universal in its scope, looking to all peoples. And the world should also be open to all peoples. Again, the segregation of people in one country or another is not the way the world should work, especially in a world which is now a globalized situation where there's constant information flowing back, constant movement of people, constant movement of trade. The world is what the world should be, one unity in great diversity. So migration also is going to follow that pattern, that when we have a globalized world, we're going to have globalized migration, and it just can't be stopped anymore.
Yeah. The bishops also warn us about the way we look at immigrants, the way we regard them. Usually, or many times, we look at them with suspicion, and we're afraid they're going to upset the, the society in which they come into. What are the bishops trying to warn us about there? Because that's, I guess, they're very upfront about that.
Well, again, warning us about prejudice, about fear of the stranger, things that create disunity and not unity, although there is diversity. We can't scapegoat the migrants for societal problems that some people would like to have happened, or say that we're being overrun by one race or another. So again, the bishops try to give that idea of universality to the world, to understand this is the way the world should be. It should be an open place. It should be a place where everyone has some stake in the future of the world. Now, that doesn't mean that the church believes in open boundaries or no restrictions on immigration. That's a separate issue. The moral issue is a clear one, that we can't be prejudiced against anyone. We have to give everyone a chance. And then we have to do that according to response to some rules that are normal rules of the world, of people having their own borders, being able to control them, control people coming into their countries. But it also must be done always with an idea of the generosity and the capacity of the country to absorb other people. That's clearly the policy.
Well, I wanted to talk about that, about the capacity of the people to take on new people like that, because sometimes we bring up the fact that, well, if we bring in all these immigrants in, it's going to flood our educational system, our medical and hospital systems, which already are in trouble. And is that right for us to have concerns like that?
Well,
and put them
you might have the concern, but you have to look at the reality. Our population is diminishing. We're not having a population growth that we should have from our native born. And so the growth has come from the immigrants. And if you want to maintain a country that has the proper workforce, you're going to have to take people in. So the reality is not true that we're being flooded and overwhelmed. The fact is we're underwhelmed, and that should be a consideration today also.
Yeah. Why at this time in history does there appear to be such a great migration from all over? The patterns of people are changing right now.
Because the world is globalized. People have instant knowledge of everything that's happening. Everybody sees everything. You know, it's a better place. They want to go there. So you can't stop it anymore. You know, when you have great communication like we have, you're going to see people wanting to move. They want something better.
Yeah, we look at the Holy Family, and they became a migrant family right in the beginning of their existence, after Jesus was born. Can that be a model for us?
Well, it certainly is. It does remind us that the Holy Family was a migrant family, that they were fleeing persecution, and that this was a reality, giving them refuge in another place, another country, and they returned when things were safe. This is the pattern that many families today unfortunately have to follow.
Good. Bishop, we're always grateful for your insights on migration.
You're welcome.
Thanks for being with us today, and we're going now back to the news desk.
Thank you, Ed and Bishop DiMarzio. To learn more about how the Diocese of Brooklyn helps migrants and how you can help yourself, go to CatholicMigration.org. Still to come on Currents News, a standing ovation for J.O. after the 6-year-old Catholic student won the biggest battle of his young life. And it's a big day for the Tablets Art Contest that keeps Christ in Christmas. Who are the winners? That's coming up next. Christmas may be coming to a close, but young artists around the diocese are using the birth of Jesus as an inspiration.
I like the creativity of it.
Judging is underway for the Tablets annual art contest. Students from Brooklyn and Queens have created great works to highlight the theme, Keep Christ in Christmas. The paper's youth editor, Melissa Enahe, is impressed with what they've done so far.
As you can see, it's colorful. These parents and students, they just were really excited to, again, do the contest because it's been a part of the diocese and the contest for the tablet for 10 years, more than 10 years now.
One winner will be chosen for each grade, going from kindergarten until 8th grade. High schoolers will also be competing in a separate judging. We wish all of the young artists the best of luck. Finally tonight, a long-awaited and well-deserved standing ovation for a 6-year-old boy who won the biggest battle of his life. Students and teachers at St. Helen Catholic School in Ohio congratulated John Oliver Zippe, known as J.O., now that his 3-year fight with leukemia is over. J.O. finished his final rounds of chemotherapy just 2 days after Christmas. His parents are proud of their son and how he's dealing with life after cancer.
He's doing great. Yeah, he's feeling better. You know, a lot of his side effects over the years were involved his legs from the steroids, and he's doing great.
Despite some physical limitations due to the treatments, J.O. never fell behind on his schoolwork. His parents say after 3 years of struggle, they are excited to have their little boy back. And that's Currents News. I'm Lydia Serrani. Thank you so much for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time. Good night.